If you like a sad girl book, this book is definitely the book you should pick up. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Other Side of Kate. Today I have a very detail-orientated book review for you guys. I'm going to be reviewing All the Lovers in the Night by Mieko Kawakami. My first and only other book review on my channel was Mieko Kawakami novel. I did Heaven by Mieko Kawakami. So if you like this review and if you like this sort of literature, I definitely recommend to go check out that video. But yeah, today we will be delving into All the Lovers of the Night. I think this is her second or third novel. I've read all of Mieko Kawakami's novels. She only has 3 and 1 is a novella. But I love this author so much, so you will get nothing but praise from her in this video. I may be biased, but I'll be delving into the different topics and plot and what I think, some of the quotes in this book, so stay tuned. I'll kind of give you some insight into the plot of this book. So this plot follows a 30-year-old woman in Japan who's working as a freelance proofreader, and she lives alone and she becomes consumed in her loneliness. We basically watch her reminisce in her loneliness and just feel this pity for herself each day. Her life and her days are stagnant. They're defined by the same routine, her devotion to work and her solitude. It seems like she's living the same day, just on a loop. There's no substance. She lacks personality. She doesn't have many friends. She's extremely socially awkward. So we kind of follow the inner monologue of this character and her struggles, and when she does actually get confronted with some characters that are outside of her comfort zone and just some situations that she goes through. So to put this into perspective, I'll read you a quote from the book. Apart from a few deadlines marked lightly in pencil and no plans whatsoever, it crossed my mind that I would probably never notice if the previous 6 months and the 6 months to follow had been switched around. One of the most exciting moments of Fuyuko, that's her main character's routine, was her birthday. Every year on her birthday, she goes for an annual walk. And that's it. That's all she does for her birthday. She goes on a walk all alone at night. And that's what excites her. That puts into perspective how little her life is, how the nothingness consumes her to the point where just a walk will be enough to be a celebration for her on her birthday. But throughout this walk, our main character slowly starts to realize the severity of her loneliness and her life, and following this walk, she begins to develop friendships with a complicated colleague and a gentle, unusual man, and soon her life starts to crack. We follow the main character's stream of consciousness from the present moments and to her dreams. While her character is defined by her difficulty speaking to others and a sense of embarrassment, her narration is like she's talking to herself. And I think this book is very much a slice of life novel. And if I take a look at all of Mieko Kawakami's novels, I think they're all slice of life books. They all focus deep on a particular character and a particular situation. It's the same with Breasts and Eggs. It followed 2 sisters and their relationships to their bodies and femininity and just their inner monologues. And then Heaven followed this severe case of bullying. It was like a case study that easeled in on these 2 kids that were going through hardships and were relying on each other. So as I said, go check out my Heaven review if you're interested in that book. That book has my heart, so I'd recommend that book to anyone. But yeah, it's very much a slice of life novel, so if you like that sort of stuff, I definitely recommend it. I'd say slice of life novels are definitely one of my go-tos. But yeah, very character focused. But we kind of follow the 7 months of this character. The novel kind of is periodically 7 months, and the months in the novel chronicle her disassociation, coming to terms with a secret rape she went through, her severe drinking problem, and an attempt to understand what others can and cannot see in a person, and you kind of see her words and her thoughts trip over each other as she tries to process how other people can operate and think so outside of how she does. But yeah, our main character, Fuyuko, she lacks personality. During an outing, a colleague asks, "Tell me something about you." And to that response, she couldn't think of a single thing worth sharing. That's what the character says. "I can't think of a single thing worth sharing." All she could voice was, "My name is Fuyuko Airi. I'm a freelance proofreader, and I'm 30 years old." And that is all the substance to our character. And as we uncover moments of Fuyuko's past, Kawakami reveals how independence can morph into debilitating loneliness. And I think independence can take a fork in the road. It can go one of few ways. You can either excel and live this life you've always dreamed of in terms of independence, or you can just pivot down into loneliness. And then here is another quote to put it into perspective. "From a young age, I couldn't bring myself to contribute to conversations like a normal person, much less socialize, to go out with people." And as we can see, Fuyuko is an extremely socially anxious person. We see her thought process as she admires other characters' extroversion and confidence and their sense of initiation. And she's almost in this fascination of these other characters because these traits and this way of behaving is just so outside of herself, and she can't even comprehend how she could get to that point from the point she's at. It's like there's a long staircase to heaven and she's at the bottom, and you can just walk and walk and walk, but her staircase just feels like there's gaps in each step, and it just seems so impossible because it's just so outside of herself. There's like a barrier. So you can kind of see our character trying to comprehend the outside world and the different people around her. And then following this inner monologue, in an attempt to come out of her shell, Fuyuko starts consuming alcohol in excessive quantities. And this is her first time drinking, and she delves right into just consuming it heavily because she realizes when she drinks, she notices herself starting to loosen up and communicate to people in a way she usually isn't able to. It's like she's able to function properly for the first time in her life. It's like she's taking her first step as a baby. However, her independence on substances starts to become really depressing and really sad to read about because there's rarely moments in the book after she discovers alcohol where she's sober. She's just always under the influence. She's always drunk. And we kind of start to realize it becomes bad when she first started consuming it only to socialize, but now she's starting to consume alcohol just in her own company. Her water bottle that she takes to work is full of, I think it's sake she's drinking, but it's just full of alcohol. You know, she's just really relying on this substance to help her operate in her day-to-day basis. She's just constantly under the influence. The alcohol was really having an effect on me, much more when I first arrived, and it felt like the more I talked, the deeper it would seep into my body. My head and my eyelids were heavy, but I felt light and relaxed. And most of all, it allowed me to step away from myself and genuinely enjoy a sense of distance from my anxieties. And that kind of shows how our main character is responding to the alcohol. And after going down this slippery slope in her life, continuing to remain a stuck vortex, just now intertwined with alcoholism, our main character finally reaches an epiphany. In all those years of doing nothing, whatever I was told to do, I've convinced myself that I was doing something consequential, to make excuses for myself, as I was doing right now, and perpetually dismissed the fact that I'd done nothing with my life, glossing over it all. I was so scared of being hurt that I'd done nothing. I was so scared of failing, of being hurt, that I chose nothing. I did nothing. And I think so many people can relate to this quote and just this feeling. It's like this intoxicating feeling that I need to do everything yeah, I do nothing. I actually think there's a meme, I'll insert it if I can find it, but it's just this overwhelming pressure and like feeling that I need to do everything, yet we procrastinate and we do nothing. And I think there needs to be a study on why us human beings do that, how procrastination can be so severe. But it's like, if I can't do everything, I'm just gonna do nothing at all. It's not like we can do bit by bit. And I think that's such a like intoxicating and like an intoxicating prison to be stuck in. It's like a prisonal mindset that is so hard for people to get out of. But I think that was one of the areas in the book that I just related to a lot. In this novel, Mieko Kawakami's writing is so succinct. It's, even when communicating Fuyuko's perspective on the novel's more complex ideas of light, memory, and emotion, there's just a certain body to her writing that just encapsulates you as the reader. And from a close-minded perspective, this book's topics or character may seem like a bore to read, but honestly, the way Mieko Kawakami writes this novel, it will fascinate you and it will rebirth you with another character's perspective and life that you wouldn't have even been held into if you just didn't read this book. So for that perspective, I would definitely recommend to read this. Memory is funny, isn't it? We remember something out of nowhere, but so much of what happens we think of never again. Overall, this novel was very straightforward, like I think most Japanese novels are, and I find memory is one of the most prevalent themes. Mieko Kawakami delves into how memory can fade and become blurry, but it physically remains in your body, and your body will always remember these memories. Your body will remember your life even if your mind doesn't, and I think that's why us humans will remember things 10 to 20 years later. And I think there's a beautiful exploration of memory that Mieko Kawakami really delves into in this book. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I definitely recommend to read this book. But I think everyone and anyone could get something out of this book. So go read All the Lovers in the Night.